This is the screencast for section 6.1, example 5. A directional angle for a vector is the angle between the positive x-axis and the vector. Now if we set up the vector v and create a reference triangle, the adjacent side is along the x-axis, the opposite side is the vertical distance from the x-axis to the head of the vector. The cosine of theta then would be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So if this is vector v, the length of the hypotenuse is the magnitude. So the cosine of theta would be a over the magnitude of v. So in other words, the a coordinate of a vector is the magnitude of the vector times the cosine of the angle theta between the vector and the x-axis. And similarly for the y coordinate of the vector, that will equal the magnitude of v times the sine of theta. Now if we want to create a vector v and find its unit vector so that it only has a length of 1 unit, we would take v and divide it by its magnitude, which means vector v would be the magnitude of v times the cosine of theta, comma the magnitude of v times the sine of theta, over the magnitude of v. So if I pull the magnitude of v and the denominator off to the side, this is really just a factor that we're going to multiply by, and I get regular cosine of theta comma sine of theta. So if I make this vector equal to 1, its magnitude equal to 1, I get the x-coordinate to be the cosine of theta and the y-coordinate to be sine of theta, just like the unit circle, whose radius is 1. You can treat the radius like a vector in this case. In example 5, we are given the direction angle, it was 115 degrees, and the magnitude that is 6, and that's demonstrated here in the picture. So it wants us to find the components of the vector, so the x component and the y component, or a and b values. By setting up a reference triangle in this case, the x value is going to be negative and the y value is going to be positive. I can fill in the values. The magnitude of v is 6, and we're looking for the cosine of 115 degrees, which is going to give us our negative value, comma 6 times the sine of 115 degrees. Make sure you're in degree mode, and you get that the vector is about negative 2.54, comma 5.44. Then now try problem 29, says find the component form of the vector v, so a comma b. The magnitude of this vector is 18 and the angle is 25 degrees, which approximately equals 16.31 comma 7.61. And by Pythagorean theorem, if I did 16.31 squared plus 7.61 squared, the x and y coordinates of a reference triangle, I would get 18 squared.